The broadcast went out to every inhabited star system in the galactic confluence. 47 civilizations received it simultaneously, a high-definition feed, crisp as surgical steel, showing a single human being standing in the center of the Grand Forum of Velcareth. His name was Ethan Ward, Ambassador Plenipotentiary of the United Earth Government, and he was on his knees. The Supreme Commander of the Velcareth Armada, Luke Sorin, stood above him. Luke was a creature of pale chitin and cold calculation, 7 feet of evolutionary dominance wrapped in ceremonial warplate. He had orchestrated this broadcast personally. Every frame of it was intentional. Let them watch, Luke had told his council. When the lesser species see what becomes of human diplomats, they will understand the cost of defiance. Ethan did not beg. He looked directly into the broadcast lens as the execution was carried out, and in the final second before the feed cut to black, those watching swore they saw something strange on the human's face. He was smiling. 41 light-years away, on the outer observation deck of Earth's Argo station, Jo watched the broadcast end. She was a signals intelligence officer, compact, methodical, with the kind of stillness that only comes from years of listening to the dark between stars. She had worked with Ethan Ward twice before the Velcareth assignment. She remembered the way he laughed at bad coffee and the way he read a room before he spoke. She closed the feed. She didn't cry. She opened a new comm channel and said 4 words. Pinnacle is confirmed dead. On 14 separate ships already positioned within Velcareth's sovereign space, those 4 words traveled through relay after relay, encrypted in a cipher that the Velcareth had never been given a reason to crack. Pinnacle is confirmed dead. It was the trigger phrase. Many received the signal from his station aboard the ESV Relentless Thunder, a deep penetration vessel that had been sitting silent and dark in the gas shadow of Velcareth's 4th moon for 11 weeks. He was not a military officer by training. He was an engineer, specifically the kind who had spent a decade designing the power routing architecture for Earth's largest orbital stations. He understood, better than almost anyone alive, exactly how a civilization's infrastructure talked to itself. He'd spent those 11 weeks listening. Signal received, he said quietly to the 2 crew members with him. Begin the sequence. His fingers moved across the console with the patience of a man who had rehearsed this 10,000 times in simulation. The Relentless Thunder had never fired a weapon. It didn't carry any. What it carried was something far more precise, a directed electromagnetic architecture system, purpose-built for one target. The Velcareth Primary Communications Relay, the hub through which all military orders flowed, sat in a fixed orbit above their capital world. Many's system didn't destroy it. It reprogrammed it. Every order Luke Sorin issued to his fleet for the next 6 hours would arrive corrupted. Not obviously wrong, subtly, surgically wrong. Fleet positions inverted. Response windows doubled. Friendly signatures flagged as threats. The Velcareth would spend 6 hours fighting their own coordination systems before they understood why. 6 hours was all humanity needed. Di had been embedded on Velcareth's capital world for 9 months. She was officially registered as a trade logistics consultant, a boring enough title that no one had looked at her twice since she arrived. She spoke fluent Velcareth high tongue and passable street dialect, had memorized the layout of 6 key government facilities, and had spent the last 3 weeks quietly making friends with the night shift maintenance staff at the Grand Administrative Spire. She watched the execution broadcast from a small apartment 12 kilometers from the forum. Then she made 2 calls, ate a cold meal, and went to work. By 0300 local time, she had accessed 3 separate data nodes in the Spire's lower maintenance corridors. She wasn't stealing information. The intelligence community had debated extensively over what to take, and decided that the most valuable move was not extraction. It was insertion. Di uploaded a single compressed package into the Velcareth government's archival network. It contained, in perfect Velcareth administrative formatting, 13 years of intercepted communications between Luke Soren's inner council and 17 Confluence member governments. Communications that proved the Supreme Commander had been systematically fabricating threat assessments to justify military expansion. Wars started on false data. Colonies erased under manufactured pretexts. By the time it was discovered, it would already be distributed to 400 archival mirror sites across the Confluence network. Luke had wanted a broadcast. So humanity gave the Confluence one. High was the one who delivered it. He had no weapons and no combat training. He was a linguist and a media specialist, the person Earth's diplomatic corps called when they needed a message to land not just correctly, but culturally correctly. He understood how different civilizations received information, what made them act, what made them freeze. Working from a relay station that piggybacked on the same Confluence broadcast infrastructure Luke had used for the execution, High transmitted Dai's document package with a single attached message, not in English, not in any human language, but in the formal diplomatic tongue of the galactic confluence, correct to every grammatical nuance, with the right honorifics and the right silence in all the right places. The message said, simply, "The ambassador's final mission was to give you this." He knew the cost. He walked in anyway. Humanity does not ask for your sympathy. We ask only that you examine what was given, and ask yourselves who, in this confluence, has been deciding which lives are worth less than empire. We are ready to answer that question. Are you? By the time Luke Soren's communications officers realized the relay had been hijacked, the message had already reached 31 Confluence worlds. What was the last piece? He was aboard the ESV Quiet Patience, an old cargo hauler that had been repurposed and had spent 4 months drifting through the outer reaches of the Velkarith exclusion zone, ignored as a decommissioned freighter running on minimal power. When the trigger phrase reached him, he powered up. The Quiet Patience was carrying exactly one piece of cargo, a full transmission array, experimental, expensive, the kind of thing that Earth's engineers had been quietly perfecting for 6 years without telling anyone. It didn't need to be near its target. It didn't need line of sight. It just needed a lock on the right gravitational signature. Luke Soren was holding a victory address before his council when every screen in the chamber went dark for exactly 3 seconds, and then came back showing a single face. It wasn't a human face. It was the face of the Velkaritha's own Supreme Archivist, a position of absolute political neutrality and historic reverence in their society. A figure so respected that even Luke could not simply dismiss what she said. Wa had located her, made contact 6 weeks prior, and explained, carefully, what humanity had found. She had agreed to speak. "What you are watching," the Supreme Archivist said, her voice carrying the weight of 80 years of institutional authority, "is not human aggression. It is human evidence. And by the laws of the First Compact, I am required to convene a tribunal." She looked directly at the lens. "Supreme Commander Luke Soren, you are ordered to present yourself." The chamber was silent. Luke Soren stood very still. He was beginning to understand, in the way that powerful men understand things only when it is already far too late, that the human ambassador had not been a message. He had been a mechanism. The smile on Ethan Ward's face, in that last second of broadcast, the one that every diplomat and analyst across 47 civilizations had been quietly discussing for the past 6 hours, suddenly made a horrible, complete kind of sense. Ethan had known. He had walked into that forum knowing he would not walk out. Knowing that his death, broadcast to the confluence, would trigger a sequence that had been months in the making. Knowing that Joe would say 4 words. That many would open 6 hours of silence. That Dai would plant 13 years of truth. That High would deliver it in a language no one could dismiss. That Wa would find the one voice Luke couldn't silence. He had been the key. And he had turned himself. On Argo Station, Joe sat in the dark long after the feeds had shifted to political commentary and tribunal proceedings and the slow, grinding machinery of confluence justice beginning to turn. She pulled up an old file on her personal terminal. A mission briefing Ethan had written 8 months ago, before he shipped out. At the bottom, beneath all the formal language and operational parameters, he had added a single handwritten line, the kind you weren't supposed to put in official documents. If this works, it means I did my job. Don't mourn me. Finish it. She closed the file. We finished it, she said quietly to no one, to everyone, to the dark between the stars that humanity had learned, slowly and painfully and at enormous cost, was never quite as empty as it looked. Outside the viewport, 41 light-years of space glittered cold and vast and full of futures that Ethan Ward would never see. But had made possible. The Velkarith's Supreme Commander was removed from power 17 days after the tribunal convened. The Galactic Confluence's formal recognition of Earth as a protected diplomatic partner was signed 42 days after that. Ethan Ward was awarded the Order of Terra, First Class, humanity's highest honor, posthumously. His file listed his cause of death simply as, "Mission accomplished."